Step into a grocery store and realize that nearly everything you touch is quietly making the same family richer. Your chocolate bar, your gum, your dog food all come from Mars. Your cat food, also Mars. Your vet clinic, very possibly Mars. And after its latest acquisition, even snacks like Pringles, Cheez-It, and Pop-Tarts now sit inside the same private empire. Many families became rich in America. The strange part is that the Mars family stayed rich. Most fortunes get diluted, sold, fought over, or destroyed by the third generation. The Mars fortune crossed more than a century and still sits among the largest family fortunes in America. Public estimates place the family around $117 billion, and Mars itself is now a $65 billion plus family-owned company. And yet, most people cannot name a single Mars family member. That is not an accident. The secret behind the Mars family's wealth is not just candy. It is silence, private control, reinvestment, and an almost ruthless refusal to let the outside world touch the machine. To understand how this happened, we need to go back to a small kitchen in Tacoma, Washington, in 1911. Frank C. Mars did not look like the founder of a dynasty. As a child, he had polio, which made it difficult for him to walk. While other children played outside, Frank spent time at home with his mother, Elva. She taught him how to hand-dip chocolate. It was a simple skill, but it would become the foundation of one of the most powerful food empires in the world. In 1911, Frank started making and selling buttercream candy from his kitchen. His first attempt in Tacoma struggled, but he restarted and kept trying. Then came the idea that changed everything. In 1923, Frank and his son Forrest discussed a chocolate malted milkshake. Instead of selling the drink, they turned the experience into a candy bar. That became Milky Way. This was genius because pure chocolate was expensive. Milky Way used nougat, caramel, and a chocolate coating, so the bar felt bigger and still cost less to produce. That one insight became a Mars pattern. Give people something that feels premium, but build it with terrifyingly efficient economics. Milky Way took off. The company hired a real sales staff. In 1929, Mars moved to Chicago, where railroads made national distribution easier. Then Snickers launched in 1930, followed by Three Musketeers in 1932. At this point, Mars was becoming a system, but the real architect of the Mars dynasty was not Frank. It was Forrest Mars Sr. Forrest was ambitious, intense, and difficult. He was educated as an industrial engineer, and he did not think like a normal candy maker. He thought in terms of process, scale, margins, and control. He wanted global expansion. His father did not move fast enough. So after a family conflict, Forrest moved to the United Kingdom in 1932 with foreign rights to Milky Way and reportedly a buyout from his father. For many families, this kind of split destroys the business. For Mars, it accidentally created a second empire. In the UK, Forrest launched the Mars Bar and then Maltesers. He also entered pet food by acquiring Chappell Brothers, the maker of Chappie dog food. The public still thinks Mars means candy, but the family learned very early that pets could be bigger than sweets. Candy is emotional. Pet care is emotional plus recurring. People may skip chocolate when prices rise, but they rarely stop feeding their dog. This is where Mars started building wealth that could survive generations. Then came one of the most important moments in the company's history. During the late 1930s, Forrest saw soldiers eating small chocolate pellets covered in a hard shell. In 1941, Mars began making M&Ms for the US military. By 1945, the brand launched to the general public. Think about what that meant. A wartime ration became a household habit. A military snack became a movie snack. A functional product became an American icon. That is the quiet genius of Mars. The family did not just sell sugar, they sold repeatable habits. You do not buy one M&M, you buy a bag. You do not buy one Snickers forever, you buy another one next week. You do not buy pet food once, you buy it every month for years. This is why Mars wealth did not behave like a normal fortune. It was tied to products that repeated themselves in ordinary life. But Forrest Mars was not satisfied with brands. He wanted control. In 1964, he finally merged his British business with his father's American company. The Mars empire became unified. From there, the family developed a culture that looked almost opposite to modern capitalism. No flashy founder, no public stock listing, no constant interviews, no family members trying to become celebrities. Mars became famous for being unfamous. The company stayed private, which meant it avoided the pressure of quarterly earnings. Public companies must constantly explain themselves to investors. They report results. They disclose margins. They face analysts. Their CEOs get punished for thinking too far ahead if the next quarter looks weak. Mars avoided all of that. This is probably the single biggest reason the family's wealth refused to die. When you remain private, you can think in decades. You can reinvest profits. You can take risks quietly. You can make acquisitions without your stock price collapsing every time the market gets nervous. And that is exactly what Mars did. The family did not drain the company for maximum dividends. According to Reuters, Mars dividends were low compared with its cash flow, reflecting the family's desire to reinvest in the business. That sentence explains more than most business books. Some families kill wealth by treating the company like an ATM. The Mars family treated it like a machine that needed to keep compounding. And compound it did. In 2008, in the middle of a global financial crisis, Mars made a massive move. It bought Wrigley for $23 billion, with backing from Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. Most companies were panicking. Mars was expanding. That acquisition brought brands like Extra, Orbit, Skittles, and Starburst deeper into the Mars orbit. It made Mars even more dominant in global confectionery. But the family's biggest long-term bet was not gum, it was pets. Mars Pet Care expanded into Royal Canin, Pedigree, Whiskas, Banfield, Blue Pearl, VCA, Anicura, and veterinary diagnostics. In 2017, Mars agreed to buy animal hospital chain VCA for about $9.1 billion. This changed what Mars really was. It was no longer just the company behind chocolate bars at the checkout counter. It was becoming one of the most powerful pet care companies on Earth. And this strategy is brilliant, maybe even uncomfortable, because Mars can touch the entire life of a pet. It can sell the food, own the hospital, provide diagnostics, and operate across nutrition, treatment, and services. From a business perspective, that is beautiful vertical integration. From a social perspective, it raises serious questions. When one private company owns more of the pet health system, prices, competition, and transparency become harder for the public to understand. The US Federal Trade Commission even required Mars to divest some veterinary clinics as a condition of the VCA acquisition because regulators worried about competition in certain local markets. So this story is not just cute chocolate and happy dogs. It is also a story about private power moving into everyday life. And Mars kept going. In December 2025, Mars completed its acquisition of Kellanova, adding Pringles, Cheez-It, Pop-Tarts, and other major brands to its snacking portfolio. Mars described itself after the deal as a $65 billion-plus family-owned business with more than 170,000 associates. So the Mars family did not preserve wealth by protecting one old candy brand. They preserved it by repeatedly moving into the next durable habit. First candy, then global confectionery, then pet food, then veterinary care, then salty snacks and breakfast treats. The empire kept changing shape, but the ownership stayed inside the family. And that is where the real secret sits. The Mars family built an institution, not just a company. Family members no longer run every daily operation. Professional managers handle much of the business. But the family still controls the ownership philosophy. Stay private, think long-term, and reinvest aggressively. Many family businesses collapse because the founders' children want control without discipline. Some want cash. Some want status. Some fight each other. Some take the company public because it creates instant liquidity. Mars chose a colder path. Keep the shares private. Keep the family quiet. Keep outsiders away. Keep the machine growing. That kind of discipline can look admirable. It can also look unsettling. Because when a public company becomes too powerful, at least the public can see some of the numbers. With Mars, the world sees the brands, but not the full machine behind them. That opacity is part of the strategy. Privacy protects the family from public criticism. It protects business information from competitors, the company from investor pressure, and the heirs from attention that often destroys dynasties. Think about it. The Rockefellers became a symbol of monopoly. The Waltons became a symbol of retail power. The Kochs became a symbol of politics. But Mars became a chocolate bar. That is a very useful disguise. A candy company feels harmless. A pet food company feels loving. A snack company feels ordinary. But combine all of it together, and you get a private empire that reaches millions of homes every single day. This is why the Mars fortune will probably not disappear anytime soon. It is not sitting in one risky startup, dependent on one famous CEO or exposed to daily stock market panic. It is locked inside a private company selling products people buy again and again. But there is a deeper lesson here. The Mars family understood something many wealthy families never learn. Money survives when the system matters more than the individual. Frank Mars created the product foundation. Forrest Mars created the operating machine. Later generations protected the ownership model. Professional managers scaled the empire. And the family stayed quiet enough that the brands became more famous than the billionaires behind them. That may be the real secret. The Mars family did not try to look powerful. They built something more useful. They built power that looks normal. It sits near the checkout counter. It sits in your kitchen cabinet. It sits in your dog's bowl. It sits inside the vet clinic when your pet gets sick. It sits in snacks people eat without thinking. And every time that happens, the Mars machine keeps moving. So when people ask why the Mars family's wealth will not die, the answer is not one candy bar, one lucky idea, or one inheritance trick. The answer is a century-long formula. Own privately. Sell habits, reinvest cash, avoid fame, diversify before the old business slows down, and never let the family become bigger than the company. That is how a boy who learned chocolate from his mother built a dynasty that outlived wars, recessions, inflation, and changing diets. And that is why the Mars family may be one of the most quietly powerful families in the world. Not because they shout the loudest, because they understood that the strongest empires are often the ones people barely notice. Subscribe to Mazuma Media for stories about more powerful families, institutions, and wealth dynamics globally.